Well, hello, we're here back in Paris. I've got Ontario Environment Minister and Climate Action Minister Glen Murray with me. Mr. Murray, thanks for taking the time to speak to us here. One of the things I wanted to ask you, I've heard you speak a lot about the science of climate change, but also the importance of integrating First Nation traditional knowledge into our decision making. Could you speak more to that?
Sure. Well, in our climate strategy, we identify Indigenous knowledge as a foundation of the experiences of people who live close to the land and a different cultural experience. And when I was in my years as when I was mayor of Winnipeg, we did a lot of work with First Nations. Winnipeg has a large Indigenous population and complex one, and we're in the middle of land treaty settlement. So you'll see urban treaty land owned by First Nations within an urban context. So it was that relationship where I learned a lot about Indigenous knowledge. I received the name Ishkan, which means one who leads, or also means one who gathers people together. And that started to shift my framework of understanding. Because when people talk about, when Indigenous people talk about their relations, they're not just talking about, Aunt Ethel and Cousin Fred. They're talking about everything in nature, including rocks and lakes and trees and all the species, and how we live in the middle of it. So there's a lot of conceptual difference in decision-making, values, and in time frames that Indigenous people bring as a coherent way of looking at the world. So if we took like three of them, if we started looking at each other and the planet, as water and air, as part of life, as something sacred in a more literal sense, if we started thinking in terms of 7 generations, if we think of our relations as everything in nature and ourselves living in the middle of a complex ecosystem that we're dependent on, not as someone who has the earth at our fingertips to be a source of resources, products, and food simply, and a more complex, well, you treat those things. You look at the integrity of the ecosystem because you're part of it, depends on it. You look at your grandchildren's grandchildren, what these decisions are. I think, that approach, a little humility on our part to learn from that cultural experience would actually be a framework